So, first thing to remember, follow your user manual, get your welder set up. We're going to go over a couple things, but first thing, once it's set up, make sure you use a surge protector, okay? It plugs into just a normal wall outlet, but the surge protectors are nice because if your power goes out or there's a random surge in energy through your building, whatever it may be, these things are nice because they help protect the system. So, go to your local electronics store, get a surge protector. That'll help keep your system running great forever. Next, after you have your welder set up, no matter which system you have, you're going to have to connect argon, okay? Now, argon gas is necessary to get the best welds. There are people out there that don't use argon. They're just using the welder to fuse their pieces together and then they'll clean it and flow solder over it. That's fine. But to get a good, strong weld, that argon gas has to mix in the plasma to get a really good clean weld. So, we not only recommend, but we highly encourage to anyone out there with a pulse arc welder, get your argon gas. It uses so little that it lasts for a long time. It's definitely worth having. So, here in the studio today, we have this size of an argon tank. This is a 30, what do they call it?
Cubic foot.
Cubic foot, okay? If you're in the US, the United States of America, that's how they measure the tanks. Outside, it might be different. It might be cubic liters or something different. But here, this is a 40, one more time, 30 cubic foot tank. Okay, if I'm welding every day doing, whatever basic repairs in jewelry, or you work in a lab, or you're doing R&D, but you're using it, throughout the day, a tank like this should last a couple months before it's used up. And if you're not doing welds, throughout the whole day, but just here and there, it's going to last a lot longer. So just remember that. We have a huge, like 80 cubic foot one in our lab downstairs, and that thing goes, I feel like, forever before we have to fill it up, and that's welding pretty much every day on it. So just remember, when you weld, a very, very little puff comes through the stylus and out where the electrode is where you're welding, and it helps to get a good, clean, strong weld. If you don't use argon gas, it's dirty, it's brittle, not good. So, setting up the argon tank. If you purchase the welder through us directly, this is the regulator that we sell. You may get a different regulator if you bought it through a dealer or at the gas supplier, but they're all pretty much the same and they follow the basic principles, okay? So this you screw onto your tank like we have here, and that just screws on, and then you have two dials, okay? When you plug this in and you turn your gas on, the dial typically on the left shows how much gas is in the tank, and the dial here on the right shows where your pressure is. Now, these systems, like I said, they just do very low amount of argon goes through the system when you're welding. So, we have it marked on ours, and that's right around the 10 psi mark. And then, depending which welder you have, it'll show you right up here in the top corner or somewhere on your touch screen. Look in your user manual to know, based on the welder you have, that it'll show you what amount of psi is coming through the machine. You want it to be between 7 and 10 is a good number. If you have it higher than that, you'll use gas. You're just using too much gas. It's unnecessary, and you'll run out of gas a lot quicker. remember to check your lines, and after you turn them on, you know, put your ear there and listen for if there's any gas leaks. Check all these areas in here, where the tubes go, where the tube goes in the back of the welder, right here. This one I can't turn around, so you know, this is where the tube would go on this particular welder. Check those and try to listen to see if gas is leaking, because like I said, a tank like this should last quite a while before you have to even think about refilling it. So, once you have this screwed onto the tank, what you do is you then screw this dial in right here, and then you'll see the pressure go up on the pressure side of the dial. And again, you don't want it to go above 10 psi. So by twisting this in, the pressure goes up. Keep an eye on that. When you're done at the end of the day, turn your gas tank off. Okay? You just don't want to have any unnecessary leaks, and then you have to fill your tank more often. So if I stand up here, I'm going to turn my gas on. So with this dial right here, this is how I would back it out. But if I need to add more pressure, I just spin it in like this. And this dial, I actually think this dial is messed up. This is a bad example. But on my screen here, I can see the gas changing. So right now, we're at 8 psi. That's perfect. I don't want to go any higher. And so that's what I'm going to leave it at. I think we are now going to pull up a page from our website and just show you. If you go to sunstonewelders.com and select the training tab at the very top of the page, it'll bring you to a page where you can select from some different options, and one of them talks about argon gas. This is what the page looks like. You can get all the information you need, and if you have any questions, please call us, let us know. We're happy to help or guide you in the right direction. So, do we have that page up? Is it up? Okay, cool. Anything particular you want to mention, we should mention from that page?
We have a lot of questions about argon gas specifically, and what tank size should I get?
Okay.
And realistically, the question, there's somebody here who brought up a point of using ultra high pure, that's medical grade.
Yeah.
And then basically shopping around for what your shop has.
Yeah. So, if you look into your user manual or online, basically we recommend the pure argon 99.996. There's other argon out there that's like 99.999999, and it's a lot more expensive. You are fine with the 99.996. That's okay. Because I was just talking to someone at our trade show last week in Las Vegas, and they brought that specific thing up. The difference between those two argons is incredible in price, but it's not that big of a difference in welding quality. So get the one, the 99.996. You don't need to go higher than that. And then the tank size, like Thane said, just depends on how much you'll be welding. This tank here that I was showing you, if a couple months is good enough for you, do that. If you don't want to have to worry about it for a year, get the bigger tank. May depend on your building location and size and how much space you actually have. But refilling them is really quick and easy. You can use Air Gas or any other company, and they'll swap them out quickly, or however they do that. So, did that answer everyone's questions, Dave?
Yeah, we had a tip here mentioning that if you open your bottle very slowly in the morning, initially until the needle starts to move, that it increases the longevity of your regulator.
Oh, cool. Thank you. Whoever that was, Ben, thank you for that tip. That's awesome. We love to hear things like this. Anytime we're helping each other out, that's awesome. So, what Ben was saying, when you turn your gas on, and when you're starting out, probably a couple things. I imagine you can probably back this out so the pressure doesn't hit real hard. But what you do is if you just open the tank real slowly, it'll help the longevity of your regulator. So your regulator will last a lot longer instead of just twisting this thing open full blast right from the get-go. So just real slowly, and then slowly move this dial in until you're at the right pressure. So, thank you, Ben. That's awesome. Alright, so if we're good with that, I'm going to move on to the next point, which is, so we talked about Argon tank sizes, regulator setup. So now we're going to do handpiece setup. I'll start with the newer welders. So our newer welders have a quick connect. Okay, so you want to find the white dot on your quick connect, and then on the back of your welder you have the connection right here, and it's labeled Weld Stylus and has a white dot at the top. So you need to line up the white dots like that and then push in, and you're done. Okay, it's in there tight. You can give it a little tug and know that it's tight. Now this is the important part. If you ever need to remove the stylus, you need to make sure that you push in from the back here. So you push in, and what happens is it compresses the stylus connector, and by pushing in, so you push in with your right hand and pull out with your left hand. Okay? By pushing in, what it's doing is it's moving these metal clips in so that you can pull it out. If you just try to pull it out without doing that push in, pull out method, you can damage the stylus, and these styluses are pretty expensive, so you don't want to do that. So again, to attach it, just slide it in, and if you give it a tug, you'll see that it's on there tight. To remove it, use your right hand, push in, and your left hand to pull on this inner part, and it comes right out. So remember that. Now, that's for all of the newer welders are that way. Now if you have an older one, or the 200i2, it uses a different stylus, or not, it's the same stylus but a different connection. This one's a little more time consuming. It's not more complicated or anything, or doesn't affect anything, it's just takes a little longer to set up. So on these ones, you have a slit at the bottom, and when you look where the connector is, there's a groove going up. So you need to make sure that the groove goes into the slit. Okay, so once you line that up, it just goes like this, and then what you need to do with some pressure is you push forward, and then you twist it onto the threads. And then you just twist those threads until you can't twist anymore, and then you push again. And then twist until you can't twist anymore, and then push again. And then twist until you can't twist anymore, and push again. And you're going to do that until it stops, until you can't twist anymore. So I've twisted, I've pushed, I've twisted, I've pushed, I can't twist anymore. That'll give me my good connection so that no gas leaks out, and we're good to go. And for taking that one off, it's just the opposite. So you unscrew, pull a little bit, unscrew, pull a little bit. Make sure you pull on the metal, not the cord, okay? You don't want to damage that stylus either. Okay, so the next step, okay, so now we've connected it. Now the really important thing is getting our stylus in focus. The one thing that seems to intimidate people, or seems to be the hardest thing about welding through a microscope, is getting used to looking through the microscope and getting your hand-eye coordination. Now with that being one of the hardest things, if you're not in focus right, or it's not set up to your eyes right, it's going to make it even harder, okay? So, I don't want to scare anyone, because literally 5 minutes after you get used to looking through this thing, you'll be welding stuff that you wouldn't even believe. It just takes that initial 5 to 10 minutes of getting used to looking through it, and then after that you're set. But we want to make sure you set it up right, so that when you're taking that 5 to 10 minutes of getting used to welding, that you're good to go. So, on your microscope, this, if you move in or out, that's how you adjust to the width of your eyes. So when you pull it up, You go like this until you can see through it. Now, if you don't have the stylus lined up right or anything, it's going to be hard to look through it because you're not focusing in on anything. So, pretending that this is not even there, what you can do first is hold your hand underneath. And once you have your eyes where they need to be, so by moving these in and out, so once you have it good and set to your eyes where it feels good, you'll kind of move your fingers up and down until they've come into focus. So right now I'm looking at my index finger, it's in focus, and I can see well. So where my eyepieces are set up for that width distance is perfect. So now I know that I'm good there, I can see through, I'm focused on my finger, life's good. But when you get the welder, this may be all the way over here, and you know, this right here may be all the way up or down. So even though I could see my finger in focus, once I have the stylus in, that's where I'll adjust my microscope up and down to make sure the stylus is in focus. Because the stylus is steady, it's not moving. My finger I could move up and down. So, first things first. We will raise this up out of the way. I'm going to put the stylus in, and I want it to stick out probably about ½ an inch. So, on the stylus you have the cap that comes off, and then you have the thicker part that stays. So that thicker part, you want to stick it all the way through and have that thicker part stick out maybe about ½ an inch. And then you tighten, okay? So now I'm going to look through again and see where I'm at. And it looks like I need to move this down a little bit. And I'm all the way back. So then what I'll do is I move it down to where the tip of my stylus is basically in the center of the circle. So when you look through a microscope, you see a circle. And you want that, the tip of the stylus, in the middle or a little bit higher. So find that spot. And now, like I said, it's out of focus because now I need to move my microscope up or down. So, using this here, I'm going to twist it, and it looks like I need to come down. Perfect. Now I'm in focus. Okay, so again, I set up to the width of my eyes. I can see good. I installed the stylus, tightened these, tightened this, look through, move this up and down until it comes into focus. Now, when it's into focus, you can fine adjust everything to what you like, okay? Maybe you like to have your stylus lower in your view, or maybe you like to have it higher in your view. Maybe the middle doesn't give you enough room to see all of your parts. So set it up how you want to, okay? This will help you a ton in getting started, because now anytime you look through your microscope, you're good to go. You can start welding, and you don't have to touch this ever unless you're pulling it out to work with it. Just leave it set up perfect where it's at. When you do need to clean your electrode, this is tight into place, so you can just pop the cap off like so. Pull out your electrode, which we're going to go over next. But, clean it up, sharpen it, shape it, whatever. Put it back in. Put the stylus cap back on, and you're good to go. So, get that set up first before you start trying to weld. It'll eliminate frustrations. You'll be good to go. Do we have any comments or anything coming in, or questions?
Nope, just clarification that because we're using the eye here in the video, the other scopes work exactly the same.
Yes, very good question. This scope setup, even though it may look different on using one of the other welders, everything we've just talked about putting the stylus in and moving the scope up and down, applies to any of our pulse arc welders. So, very great question, thank you. Alright, now we're going to talk about the electrode. Okay, this electrode, obviously, it's very important. It's tungsten. We're using a micro TIG welder, so tungsten and inert gas, create an arc. Well, anyways, I'm getting too detailed. I don't even know what I'm saying. I hear it and then I say it. Anyway, okay. Going to step back a little, start over. Okay, here we go. Alright, this is a tungsten electrode. This is how you make a weld. The tungsten electrode should not stick out too far, okay? You have a line cut into your stylus cap. Now, at the end of the stylus cap, if you put that up against the collet, like so, can you see that okay in the video? Yeah? Okay. You want the tip of the electrode to fall inside that line that we've cut into the stylus, okay? It can be, you know, closer to the end, to the front, or closer to the end. It doesn't matter. It can be right in the middle. That's just a good area to be. If you're farther out, if that electrode is farther out, it'll be too far away from the stylus cap and the argon gas won't cover, and then you'll get a bad weld. If it's too high up, then you just won't be able to see it through the microscope. You just won't be able to weld. So, right here, we're right in the middle. When I put the actual cap on, you'll see that it sticks out about 1/4 of an inch, 2 to 3 millimeters, and you don't want to go farther than that. That's good, okay? Now, if you were welding a piece and you just, like, maybe it was circular and you had to get in to a spot that was hard to reach, and the only way to get in is by extending that electrode out farther, that's fine. Turn your gas pressure up a little bit, maybe to 12 or 15, so that the gas gets in there and covers it. Now, I'm going to push play, and this is my grounding clip. I can't weld without a grounding clip. But what I want to show you is, anytime the grounding clip or your workpiece, I have a ring here, anytime your grounded workpiece touches that electrode, you can hear that it makes a little click, and that that's letting you know that it's about to weld. So, if that electrode's out real far and you need to get into an area that's hard to reach, turn your gas up, touch it a couple times so the gas comes out and fills the area, then do your weld, and you'll see that the weld will be clean and good because the gas got in there. But if you don't need to do that, try to keep the electrode at this distance. You don't want to go too much farther out or too high, too much farther in, or else you won't be able to see the electrode. So remember that. Okay. Once you start welding, you'll see that electrode, it's like a pencil. You remember back in elementary school, you had a number 2 pencil, you'd write, and you'd write, and you'd write, and then you had to go sharpen it in a little machine. Nowadays, everything's mechanical, but hopefully everyone watching this video knows what I'm talking about. They're still around. I mean, it's not like they're gone. But anyways, number 2 pencil, right? You use it a lot. What happens is its sharpness starts to go away, and it'll get dull, okay? Now, when that happens, you need to sharpen it back up. We sent you a diamond disc in order to do that. You can hook this to a battery-powered Dremel, you can hook it to your flex shaft, whatever. You just need to hook it to something, you need to keep this close by. I like this because I can use it whenever, and I don't have to change my tools out of my flex shaft. So, what I do, the disc here, the diamond disc, it's spinning counterclockwise, alright? And so, when I go to clean my electrode, that's another thing. Not only will it get dull, but sometimes when you're welding a lot, pieces of metal will get onto this and stick to it. And that affects your weld. You're always going to have the best weld when you have a clean electrode. So, when you get a dirty electrode or it starts to lose its sharpness, you will pull out your Dremel, turn it on, and you want to sharpen it with the striations going to the point. So, since my diamond disc is going this way, counterclockwise, I need to put the electrode on this side so that the striations are going to the point. If you don't do that, it will affect your weld. It may make your arc kind of go a different direction and not exactly where you point the electrode, okay? So, what I do, turn it on. Everyone has their own way. I like to spin it between my index finger, or my middle finger and my thumb finger, and then I put some pressure on my index finger to get it nice and sharp. And like that, you're done. Sharp electrode. Clean, good to go. So, I'll reinstall that. Make sure it's the right length. That stuck out too far, so I'm going to go up a little bit more. And now I'm good to go. Okay, so there you have it. Remember, these things we're talking about are going to help you have the best, highest quality welds. So remember to do them. Set up the microscope right, make sure your argon gas is right, make sure you got the right amount of PSI of argon gas coming through, keep that electrode clean, and you'll be good to go. Now, do we have any questions about that?
We had somebody ask a question about the O-ring on the end of the Stylus cap.
Okay.
What maintenance if it gets hard and dry and doesn't slide in easy?
Right. So when we send this to you from the factory, it has a little bit of grease, I guess. I don't know exactly what kind of grease that is, but we'll find out and let you know. But it does.
White lithium.
White lithium. Okay. So it has a little bit of white lithium grease just along there, and that's exactly for the purpose of what the question says. It's so that it does not dry out, so that you always can slide it in and off really easy. So, if yours is destroyed, give us a call. We'll send you a new one. If it's just dry and you can just put some grease on there and it still has life left to it, you're good to go. So, white lithium grease. Just get a little bit, put it around the outside, and that'll help it so that it doesn't dry out. And like I said, it should have some on it already, but if for some reason you wiped it off or whatever, it's okay. Just get a little bit of white lithium grease, put it around that, and that'll last you forever. So, alright. We good then? Thanks again for joining us, everyone. We really appreciate it. Tell your friends, anyone out there that has an Orion, or if they're thinking about getting one, we'd love to have them join and learn more about our machines. They're awesome machines. So, okay, so like I mentioned earlier, you have to ground your workpiece. So, no matter what type of metal it is, what size it is, it has to be grounded before the machine can make a weld. Okay, so as you can see here, I have my trusty stainless steel screw, but when I touch this electrode, nothing happens unless it's grounded. So now I'm going to ground it. On the back of your welder, you have a negative and a positive for your grounding clips. It needs to be in the positive, okay? Your electrode here is the negative, grounding clip is the positive. So when it's grounded correctly, then it lets me make a weld. And I'll do one right here. I closed my eyes, as you can see, because your eyes need to be protected. When you look through the microscope, I didn't mention that earlier. I'm sorry if someone tuned out because they were bored and they missed this very important information. The reason we have a microscope, a special microscope, is to protect your eyes when you're welding. Anytime you weld, there's a bright flash. But inside the microscope, there's a shutter, or it's like a shutter that darkens. And it completely 100% protects your eyes from the flash. If someone's welding around you and you're watching, do not look directly right here. It's like looking at the sun. It's very bad for your eyes. So either get special goggles if you're watching, or always only look through the microscope, okay? What I did was like I said, I closed my eyes because I just wanted you guys to see that we're making a weld. And the camera is set on this. So, you know, I can put my hand there. There we have a weld. So, grounding clips, that's what I was talking about. So, there's a couple different options, okay? This is what comes standard. This is typically what everyone uses. It's just an alligator clip. But when we shipped you your welder, depending which model you have, we also sent this one for doing circular rings, whether it's jump rings or other parts out there, and depending what your industry is. But you can put a ring in there and then hold it with this, and hold that ring closed, and then you can use that as your grounding clip. The thing, though, is that this is a spade terminal. The alligator clip that we ship to you, you just plug it into the port. It's super easy, right? You just plug in like that. But with this one, where it's a spade terminal, you have to plug it into the back. You have to unscrew the port here. Thane, you're laughing. What's going on over there?
There's a joke on the chat.
Oh, okay. Hey, we got some funny people on the chat. Thanks for keeping it lighthearted. We love that. Can I hear it, or were they making fun of me?
Nope. They were saying that there's no one chatting, and then he said they must be busy soldering.
Oh. Yep, that's probably what they're doing. They got bored with my video and they're like, I'm back to torch and flame, alright? I'm offended. No, I'm just kidding, man. I love you guys. Okay, spade terminal. Unscrew that. Slide your spade terminal down in. Sometimes you have to twist it so that it lines up right. Screw that on, you're good to go. Now, if you have certain tools that you like to use to like hold pieces, you can ground those tools. You can add a cable to them, or we can help you. We can custom add a cable to the tools that you like. So you don't have to use what we sent you, but as long as as long as you can ground the tool you're connect the cable to the tool you're using to hold your parts, then you're good to go. So this is an option, and then you also have this as an option. This is really nice for holding smaller pieces. I really like it. You just squeeze here and it opens up. You can hold on to really small, fine wire, jump rings, things like that. But same thing, it has this connector, so you just plug it in like so, and plug this in. There you go. Good to go. Now, you're all probably wondering, actually you're probably not, but maybe you are. You might be wondering why our welders have two of these ports on the back, and one is labeled pulse arc positive or tack positive, and then tack negative. Well, when you come to your screen here, you have arc welding, which is welding down here with the stylus. That's typically 99% of the reason why you bought the machine. But there's also tack. Now tack is a built-in resistance welder that allows you to join your pieces together. It's a light join, it's not permanent. It'll break apart, but it'll hold your pieces together so you can see if you like them. Then you can return to arc and weld here on a permanent weld. So let me show you how this works. You go to tack, you choose what you want for your settings, and then you'll have both your alligator clips in. Okay, so one in the negative, one in the positive. You clip the two pieces together that you want to tack. You touch them together, and then you step on a foot pedal. What it does is it joins the two pieces together. Like I said, it won't be a permanent join. It's almost like it just sticks them together, right? But it is a weld. It's a light weld. Runs energy between the two pieces, holds them together. You can see if you like it. If not, you just pull it apart. That's a tack weld. Let me do one for you real fast. Oh, never mind. I don't have a foot pedal. We'll do a video that shows you how. We actually have one set up just for showing tack welding. You can do it where you don't use a foot pedal and you just touch the two pieces together. There's a little bit of a delay and then it will weld them, or it'll fix them together. But actually, you know what? I can do that. I'll show you real fast. Because I know you're curious. I know if I was watching, I'd be like, whoa, 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 whoa. It's like telling me you have something against me and then you're not going to tell me. It's like, well, you can't tell me that. Oh, here we go. Flying screws. Thank you, Thane. Okay. So, I go to my tack screen. Thane's over there chuckling. Are people making fun of me again?
No,
I'm just kidding. I don't care. Okay. Alright. So, right now, when you go to the tack screen, it will always default to foot pedal. So you have to change it to touch detect. The reason for that is because if you accidentally touch your pieces together and maybe the power is too high, it could stick them or put a hole in them or whatever. So like always, we always say start with your power lower and whatnot. We recommend using foot pedal so that you can position the pieces, make sure they're perfect, then step on the foot pedal and it makes the weld. But since I don't have a foot pedal right now, and I probably have one somewhere, but I don't feel like setting it up, we're going to touch detect. This is how it works. Okay? Put the two pieces together. Maybe you saw that, maybe you didn't. Oh, whoops, I pulled it apart too fast. So you'll see a little bit, you'll see a spark and maybe some smoke. There it is right there. Okay? Pull that apart. Like I said, it fixtures them together. It's just light. Comes apart super easy.
Do another one right by the electrode.
By the electrode? Okay. Here we go. Ready? Is that good? There it is. So, as you can see, it only kind of did one side, but then you have it, right? Let's say you wanted it kind of like this, where it's off, it's not on perfect. Well, then I go to my arc screen, boom, put a weld, now it's permanent. But if I don't like it, I just break it right apart. Super easy. This is a really cool feature. We were the first to invent this and do it. We're super proud of it. Whether you use it or not, it's a cool feature to have just in case, you never know. So this is tack welding. Everything else when you're welding from the electrode, that's arc welding. So there you have it. If we don't have any questions, I'm going to move on to the next point. We good? Alright. So that was your grounding clip options. Oh, triggering a weld. So we kind of just talked about that, right? So for tack welding, you can either do foot pedal or touch detect. Now when we return to the arc, where we're welding here from the tungsten electrode, that's the opposite. 99% of the time, you'll want to just do what's called touch detect. Touch detect is what I've already shown you, right? So when I touch my grounded piece to the electrode, it senses the electrical connection and it knows, and so then it'll do the weld. So I'm going to close my eyes. There we have it. We got a weld, okay? Now, if I go to foot pedal, it will not weld. It'll not weld unless I step on a foot pedal. So, as you're looking through the microscope, you might think, watching the video, oh man, I'm only going to use foot pedal. That'd be way easier. Try out the touch detect. It's much quicker, much more efficient, but occasionally you'll need to use the foot pedal in cases where you just really do not want this to accidentally weld from being touched. So, those are the two options, foot pedal or touch detect. If you have any questions, let us know. But that's pretty basic. If you saw a demo from us or you probably used the machine, you probably know how that works. So you are good to go. Now, anything else I should say about triggering a weld? No? Alright. Okay, basic screen walkthrough. I'm sorry if you're watching and you have an older system. This is something that is only on our newer systems, but we feel like it's really important to go over because this is just a really cool feature. So, whether you have a new 100C, a new 150S, or a new 200i2, or a 250i2, or a 250S, sorry, I forgot those ones. We have some different powers. So basically if you have the C series, the S series, or the I series welder, and it's newer, you're going to have the basic screen, okay? So, can they see at this angle thing?
That looks good.
That looks good? Okay. So I'm just going to jump out here in front a little bit. Okay, so this is the 200i2, but the cool thing is, it's very similar between all of our different welders. Let me bring this down so you can see it all good. Okay, so the cool thing about our basic screen, well, let me tell you something first. Let me tell you something about our welders. They're very customizable, so you can be in charge of every setting, whether it's the power, the time of the weld, the length, duration, whatever you refer to it as. You can control how the weld energy is delivered, whether it's in a square waveform or a triangle waveform or a classic waveform. You can control if there's agitation, sloped agitation where it follows the slope, or a sustained agitation where it's just agitating throughout the whole weld. You can control if there's negative agitation. You can control the time before the weld, the time after weld, all these things that it's just, you get the machine and you're like, oh, that's a lot of stuff. Well, we've made it super easy for you to understand, okay? You go to the basic screen, you select the type of metal you're welding. So I'm going to go to stainless steel because I have my trusty stainless steel screws. Alright, stainless steel. So first I select stainless steel. The machine now knows the type of metal that I'm welding. Next, I select the joint type, okay? Am I welding two pieces together, just joining them, two thicker pieces? Is it a smaller piece, like a piece of chain, a wire, thin something, whatever? Am I doing a post where I'm coming in and there's a 90-degree angle, Am I doing that? Every single one of these selections change what's happening in the weld. Maybe I'm adding wire, or maybe I'm working close to something precious like a diamond or a ruby or a circuit board or anything really, or maybe it's hollow. Then I would select this one, okay? We show you the image there so you kind of get an idea. And then it sets up the power, depending on your system. This is an I series, so our time and power, everything's independent. But we set it up for you, okay? Now from here, again, this is just a general starting point. From here, you can change your power higher or lower to get either a deeper weld or a thicker weld or a smaller weld, depending on what you're welding. So, you push play, you select whether you want foot pedal or touch detect, and you're ready to go. And it's like that for any one of our welders. I'm going to turn this off, and I'm going to plug in our C, because it is a little bit different. And I just want to show you what it looks like on this one, because the i2 is more sophisticated. You have a lot of other settings that you wouldn't have on the C series or the S series. For example, on the I you have the different waveforms I mentioned, like square and triangle. On the C and the S, it's just the classic waveform, no other options. So it's a sloped curve. High quality welding between each machine, but you definitely are on a whole other level if you have the I series. That square and triangle mode just add a whole nother level of precision, depth, strength, smoothness. It's unbelievable. This welder is unbelievable. That's all I gotta say. Watch our videos on all the different products. They're also on our YouTube page, and you'll see kind of the main differences between all of them, but this one's on a whole nother level. Okay, so we have our 100C up and running right now. The 100C is more basic, so you don't even have any other options. You only have the basic screen on the 100C. But it's the same type of thing, right? So we've selected arc, we choose our metal. Maybe we're welding copper or platinum. Let's do platinum. Okay, so platinum is selected. I choose my joint type. Maybe we'll do a post. And then it selects the amount of energy that I should be using. And you can see here, it doesn't want us to use agitation, and the ignition is just a standard ignition. But if I change to adding wire, it then changes the ignition to a standard plus, which directs the arc a little better. If I'm doing a thicker piece of platinum, it adds agitation. And that agitation helps so you get a better, stronger weld. So the machines are awesome. They're easy to use. From here, you can adjust the power if you want, but that's a great starting point for you. We just want them to be easy for you to use, and that's why we've done this. We've put a lot of time and effort into coming up with the best way of doing that for you. The S is the same way. You have a screen just like this. However, on the S and on the I, you can go, oh yeah, I unplugged it. You can go in and customize those settings even more if you want to, once you become more familiar with the machine. So, basic screen. Now, we've gone through everything that we have on our list here. The last thing, and this is something we always tell everyone, whoever calls in and said, man, you know what, I just don't feel like it's welding quite like it used to, or I did this application once and it was perfect and now, I don't know, it just doesn't look the same. Here's what we want you to do. Use the reset button. Anytime you start a new application, anytime you have a new metal, anytime you've left and maybe someone else used the machine, or just anytime you've left and you've come back, because who knows, maybe there's like little gremlins in your shop or whatever and they're messing with settings. Whatever it may be, when you start a new project, when you come back to the welder for the first time, hit the reset button. The reset button allows, or makes the system go back to the factory default settings. Okay, so if the time was messed with, or any of the back end, from the settings tab, things were messed with, reset will just put it all back to factory settings, and 99% of the time, anyone I've ever talked to, they're like, oh sweet, it's welding normal again. So, utilize that button. On the C, it's right down here in the bottom left corner. So you hit the reset button. This will reset to factory default settings. Yes. Thank you. Everything's back to normal. On the I, same thing. It's in this bottom corner. On the S, same thing. It's in the bottom corner. Now, if you have an older Orion system, some of them did not have the reset button where you could see it on the home screen, right? On that arc screen. So what you had to do was go to the settings tab in the top right corner, and then you had to go to, so you have interface, gas, timing system. You had to go to the system tab. Come on. And then from here, there was an option that said reset welder or restore factory defaults. Click that button and it restores the defaults. Do you want me to touch it? Let's see here. Okay, on this one it's the top one. Oh, sorry, there's a couple different options. You can clear your memory or you can restore all defaults. So we restore all defaults, hit yes, and then you're good to go. And you hit the exit button and you go back to your screen. So, follow these steps. We go to lots of trade shows. We interact with you guys through YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, trade shows, just anywhere we go, workshops. These are the key things that we go over when setting up and getting the welder ready. Thunder? I don't know what that was. No, I think someone's on our roof repairing some stuff. Anyways, remember, follow these steps. We have them listed on our website. If you go to the Sunstone Welders website training page, if you click on today's episode, it'll open a page that shows you what I'm looking at right here on my paper. So if you forget any of these steps, you can go there. Thank you for joining. My name is Scott Peart. Thane Kennedy's my man behind the scenes, taking care of everything, making sure it all works out. We love doing these shows. We love you guys joining. Thank you for the questions. If you have any more, because you missed this episode, don't worry. Just send us an email, sales@sunstonewelders.com, or give us a call, 801-658-0015. We're always here to be at your service. Thanks for joining. We will see you guys next time.